Hello, Steve89. Well, I've been feeling a bit nostalgic lately, and I've just been talking about all the things that have happened in my life and some of the stories I sort of want to share with people. And one of the ones I wanted to share was an accident I had. I had two accidents with my hands when I was growing up. One was major, one was minor. When I was in year 9, no, year 8, sorry. It was about May, it was not long into the start of the year. I was trying to unscrew a broken toy, and the screw wasn't working well enough, so I had the bright idea, and I often did this, I'd use a knife because the tip was pointier than the big screwdriver that often was too big to really get into the nail. So had someone actually bought a proper, toolkit with a proper set of screws, I wouldn't have been doing this. I was using knives as screwdrivers, and I was cutting and I slipped, and I cut through the middle of my finger, my this finger, perfect finger, but you might be able to see a bunch of scars all the way through the hand. I cut the finger here. I cut all 3 tendons. At first I didn't realise I'd done it, and I opened my hand, and the finger popped open because the tendons weren't holding it down anymore, because that's what they do. And when you do cut the fingers, it goes into a straight position, and the blood just started shooting out and all along the walls. And I ran down the hall to my mum, and there was people found later, there was sprays of blood all the way down the hall. We went to the hospital. They gave me a needle in it, and they said, no, you're going to have to go to the doctor. You're going to have to go to the hospital. It's serious. You've cut the tendons. It's going to have to be repaired. It's not just going to heal. I went to the hospital, and we quickly realised this is serious. Now, fortunately for me, even though my father didn't pay much attention to us and spend his money on other things, he did have a good job, a good paying job, and good medical insurance. And we also live in Australia, which has universal healthcare. So I have all my fingers. I would have lost this finger if I hadn't have had better medical care. If I was in America, I wouldn't have this finger right now. And I had to wait for an operation, and they flew in, I won't say world-renowned, but Australian, one of the best neurosurgeons or whatever he was in Australia. And how they got him was they told him I was an artist, and I was a young child, an artist, and I'd cut my hand, and if he didn't fix my finger, I'd have to have it amputated, and it would ruin my life, basically. So he came in. I'm sure he'd made some negotiations with doing it at cost or something, and then when he got there, he found out it was my left hand, and they'd lied to him. But he still did it because it wasn't my fault, and he couldn't have let them promise me that this person was going to come and fix this kid's hand and then not do it because they misled him into thinking that it was my right hand, my artist hand, that was ruined or going to be ruined. So he did the operation. At first they couldn't repair the tendon, so they put a artificial tendon in to keep the space open, and they were going to do a graft and take a tendon from another part, graft part of the tendon out and replace the tendon. So I had to wait a few months for the second operation. Second operation didn't work either. The first operation failed, that's right. The second operation, they were going to use the graft and put that in, and then do another graft for the third operation. So it was planned to be 3 operations. So this guy came for 1 operation and ended up having to do 3. And it took a whole year. I think the first one was in May, the second one was around July, August, and then the last one was basically just for the holidays. So I missed the Christmas holidays that year. My nieces were over, and everyone else was having their Christmas holidays, and I was in hospital for 3 weeks. And then I had to go up a couple of times a week, or go in a couple of days a week for physiotherapy. And my family, for some reason, instead of just driving me to town every couple of days so I could spend the rest of the time at home, they sent me up to stay in a house with a bunch of strangers and sick people with cancer who were dying and were getting medical care at this house that was basically purchased near the hospital so people could live there when they couldn't travel. So I stayed there, which I bitterly resented, and it was a horrible experience. And I haven't even just gone into the depths of that experience. But ultimately, they fixed the finger. The initial graft there were issues because there was supposed to be a spare tendon in my hand. So they cut all of this open here. There's supposed to be a spare tendon here. They cut all the way down here, this giant scar that took forever to heal. And I had this giant scar. It looks like I slipped my wrist when I didn't. So I'm always conscious of people thinking that's what it is. And there was no tendon in there. So they had to take it out of here. So they ended up grafting this little tendon into here. And all this was opened up for nothing. Because the person who did the person who did the preliminary work didn't do it properly. I'm guessing the main doctor didn't do that, and they detected a spare tendon that wasn't there and couldn't be used. But they ended up grafting the other one. They fixed it, and it works. My finger is almost 100%. If you look, it pulls in the center of my hand because it's all sort of attached inside where it's not supposed to be, and it doesn't quite come all the way down like my other fingers do. But that's pretty close. So I'm lucky. I would have lost the finger. It would have been really bad. But I just give credit for this doctor who I probably should name, but I'm not going to just because he may not want me to, who basically was tricked into fixing my finger because they would have got another surgeon, but he wouldn't have been as good and he may not have been able to save the finger. And I don't know who lied to him, but I'm glad they did. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. The other injury I meant to mention. We were running from a friend who was harassing us, me and my niece, and we ran into the front door. She got in first and she slammed the front door on both of us and my hand went straight through it. And me being the rational, sensible one, calm one, while they were panicking and freaking out because there was blood everywhere and I was bleeding, I went, got a tea towel, wrapped up my hand, and called the ambulance and spoke to the hospital myself and got the ambulance to come around and take me. And then when my family came home, they found the front door broken, they found blood, they didn't know what had happened. And ultimately, though, people were more upset with the window being broken than me being injured. People in my family were more upset about having to have cardboard on the front door and possibly the house being able to be broke into because there was cardboard on the door. They were more worried about that than me, and they had a go at me for causing so much trouble by having a door smashed on me and slammed on me. So, good experience, bad experience.